we go. Go over here to already. We are live. All right, we got the test pattern up.
Just remember, they can hear us.
Okay.
Welcome to Art's Place, conservative talk from a different view, from the Casablanca studio in Golden, Colorado. Hosted by Art Carlson. At 4'6", liberals fear him, and conservatives love him. He's definitely a giant among men. Now here's your host, Art Carlson.
All right, welcome to another episode of Art's Place, conservative talk from a different view, and with my illustrious co-host Lloyd Mendenhall, live from Saudy, Oklahoma.
Yeah, let me shut a couple things off here. So,
okay.
All right. Yeah, I got people in the house. They're doing they're doing my cleaning for the week, so you may hear a little noise in the background, and occasional we might have a guest step in the room and visit for a second.
Okay.
But anyways, it is what it is, you know.
All right.
So, what's going on with you, Art?
Well, I've been doing a lot of fishing. Had a great show on my drone show last night. It was a blast having Jeff Sills on. The weather has been pretty good here in Colorado. Sorry to hear about what's happening in Oklahoma and
it's
your daughter-in-law's boat that sank.
Yeah, our son and daughter-in-law's boat sank. They had the sea valves open because, well, that was up on dry land and it was far enough away. They were working on it, and you know, nobody was expecting this kind of water. I mean, it really come down to nobody was expecting it at all. It was just, and it's worse than even they projected. I mean, they project when they finally came to the conclusion it was going to be bad. They said it's going to be bad, folks, but it's not going to be as bad as 86. It's beat 86 just by far. I mean, yesterday we were at 46 feet above flood stage here in Muskogee, and it's expected to get to 48. And we had tornadoes and more rain last night. We were sirens going off everywhere last night. There was 2 fatalities up north where a tornado touched down, killed a couple people, and it actually hit in one of the busiest spots of Tulsa last night, which is but fortunately it was like 1 o'clock in the morning, so nobody was there, where the big shopping mall is at. One of the last big ones in Tulsa, one of the last big ones anywhere for that matter. They're all dying, but but that's a huge shopping area there, and they got hit with tornadoes last night. We sat up half the night again watching tornado storm, storm warnings. It's Oklahoma. That's what we do in our spare time.
Yeah, a friend of mine, her hometown of Jefferson, Missouri, was hit by a big tornado.
Yes, they got hit too, and I mean, these storms are coming up out of the Texas Panhandle or Central Texas, and they're just traveling in a southwest and northeast line straight up into Missouri. And my granddaughter lives up, I think near Joplin. She texted me the other night and said they spend all night in the basement. You know.
Wow.
It's just this is the worst I've seen it since I've lived here, and I've lived here 38 years now.
Right.
And this is Monday night Wednesday night we sat there, and every time they'd go to shut down the weather center, another 2 tornadoes would suddenly drop out of the sky.
Wow.
I bet there was 25 or 30 just that night.
Oh my.
Just
That's
yeah,
awesome.
unbelievable.
That's just terrible.
You know whose fault it is, right?
It's global warming. We're doing it. It's the combustion engine,
Yeah.
and we're polluting the hell out of the planet.
Yeah. Well, it's actually the Democrats because they're colluding with the Russians, and
Right.
they're sorry about that. Anyways, they're colluding with the Russians, and they've built a weather control machine, and they're using it on Oklahoma because we are the only state that went every county for Trump.
Wow.
Everyone.
That's
So they're mad
amazing.
at us. I mean, yeah, every single county in Oklahoma voted for Trump.
Right.
Doesn't mean every person did, but we forgive those that didn't.
Well, that's amazing. And speaking of Trump, now Nancy Pelosi is talking about impeachment. And I don't know, what are they going to impeach him on? The Mueller report pretty much cleared him of collusion. Now she's saying there's a big cover up. So getting at the truth is a cover up. That's amazing.
Well, the whole thing, the cover up is on Mueller. He covered up for everybody that was on the other side. He covered up for Clinton. He covered up for Obama. He covered up for Comey. He covered up for everybody.
Yep.
That's the cover up. But they, if they spend as much time dealing with the business of the nation as they do on this crap that they're doing about Trump, even when Bill Clinton was going through all that, we still managed to conduct the business of the nation.
That's right. That's right. That's right. And it's just amazing. This hatred for Trump is just unbelievable. I mean, I thought they hated George Bush, but this is way beyond that.
Well, I mean, how sad is it that they are so far to the left that even Bernie Sanders isn't acceptable? He's not socialist enough for him. I mean, how sad is that? So let me shut this door real quick.
Okay.
So I'll be right back. I'm gonna shut this door real quick so I don't hear the furniture moving. So the
All right, I'll go check on. There's nobody there. We've got.
Huh? Oh, okay. Well, anyways. Okay, let me get my headset plugged back in. I can hear you, Art.
Alrighty.
Okay. Yeah, sorry about that, but they didn't come in last week. I have trouble doing a lot. Well, first off, I'm a man, and for some reason, we're not genetically engineered for good housekeeping. And unfortunately, Judy can't do it, so it doesn't get done. So my son's sister-in-law and her daughter come over, and well, you saw her in the. She's the one that ate the Vegemite and got sick. Yeah, she still comes over and does my house, but
right.
Anyways, man.
Well, I looked over.
What else is going on?
I looked over at the chat, and there's nobody there.
Well, guess what? We can still have a show.
That's right. And we're going to plow through it and get going.
Yeah, let's. Let me do something real quick.
All right.
Because let me tweet it out. Okay.
Yeah, I was kind of. I didn't do my part to post anything. I was just busy with a bunch of other stuff. But
well, I know I was running late too. I'm gonna put it on Facebook too while I'm at it.
There you go.
Because maybe we'll get some people. But this is a holiday weekend.
That's true. That's true. So, from what I hear, the submarine that's near your house may float away.
It's already floating. One of the moorings broke loose. I found out last night, and it broke loose. I found out last night that one has broken loose. What it is this submarine set down inside a, well, if you look at the video that Mel and I did together,
Right.
we both did videos. If you look in it, it sets down in this deep depression. What they did is on the back side over there, the furthest away from where we walk in at,
Right.
that was a levee that they built after they floated it in.
Oh,
Okay,
I see.
and that held out the Arkansas River, and then the Arkansas receded way back. But it has flooded, come over that levee, filled that up. The sub floated, and then it sits. That's probably 15, 20 foot deep that it sits down in that depression.
Wow.
And then it's anchored down with huge steel cables that are cemented into the ground. Problem is when that fills with water, one, you get the lift of the sub. Two, you get the ground softening, so that cement's going to go anyways.
Yeah.
And it's broke loose. And this if it floats away, this will be the third time. It did it right after they got it in 72 or 73.
Wow.
And let me post this while I'm at it. Let's see.
There you go.
Where is friends? Okay. I don't use this enough to.
Right.
Let's see. Where's the? See, I don't use. Oh, there it is. Post to friends. Big blue line there. It's like,
Right.
duh. I couldn't figure out. I use everything on my iPad. So,
Right.
anyway, so that maybe will get some people coming in. And if it doesn't, we'll still do the show. But yeah, it floated away in '86, which was the second worst flood we'd ever had.
Right.
The worst flood we ever had was in '47, and we only had one of the dam systems in place then. We now have like 6 all around, 6
Wow.
major ones, and
Wow.
4 of them are at anywhere from 89 to 99% capacity right now.
Whoa. That's amazing.
And somebody put a picture up today, and it showed the lock and dam system, okay, which helps control the flow of the water, and it also brings the barges up and down.
Right.
The river has gone around it.
Oh my.
They've got all the gates open as wide as they can go, and it's actually right at the top, and the top of the dam is just sticking. The river has just gone around it. It's gone
Wow.
that far out of the banks that it's gone past the dam system now.
Amazing.
And like the river just upstream from us, well, we have 3 that converge right here in Muskogee, and that's what the problem is we've got they have
Right.
3 to there's 3 to 4 major lakes, and they are at 98%, like I said, 89 to 98% capacity,
Right.
just keep filling. Every time somebody gets some rain, we get, they have to let out more water, but yeah, that sub may float away.
Well, Denver had a lot of flooding issues in its day, and you probably remember the flood of '65.
I lived through it. You betcha. I remember it. Denver was cut in half.
Yep. I was only
we
5
lived over
years old when
Westminster.
that happened. So
Yeah,
that's why they built Chatfield Reservoir, was to, for flood control and for water
Right.
supply for the city. They're doing some major reconstruction of the dam. They're going to make the lake bigger than it used to be. So it's going to have more capacity, and I think it's going to be finished by next year.
Okay, cool. Yeah. It's I remember that flood. This is the third one. This is the third flood I've lived through in my lifetime. I lived through the '65 flood in Denver.
Right.
My grandfather lived over, I can't remember where it was they lived. They lived over on one side of Denver, and I remember there was a bridge that crossed, I think it was Cherry Creek,
Yeah.
or no, it crossed the Platte, and it
Yeah.
was washed out. It was a steel structured bridge, and they were on one side of the Platte. We were on Westminster, which is on the other side, you know,
Right.
and
All the debris.
yeah, it just washed down there, and
Yeah.
I mean, you know, and the problem was they were still in Denver, but in those days, dialing across town, some areas was long distance, so my mom
Right.
had to call, you know, intermittently because they were long distance. You know, it was an extra
Oh,
penny,
boy.
penny a minute or something. It was ridiculous, you know, back in those days. But Ma
Wow.
Bell owned everything, so what could we do?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So here in Colorado, one of our state representatives has resigned amid some sexual assault allegations, and she was targeted for a recall. And I suspect that she resigned so that the Democrats will still hold on to that seat because they will just fill it in with someone else who will just, carry on their bidding for the party. And they can't afford to have a Republican take that seat, even though it's in Greeley and it's pretty much a Democrat district.
Right.
And they're also
Yeah.
starting a recall against State Representative Tom Sullivan. His son was killed in the Aurora Theater shooting. And his
okay,
district
yeah.
is traditionally a Republican district. And I think he's the first Democrat to hold that seat in a long, long time.
Right.
And so he's being targeted because he was the author of the red flag bill that passed through the House and Senate and was signed by the
Yeah.
governor. But that's
Yeah.
not just that's just one of many really bad bills that he voted for. One of them was to give local control for oil and gas industry so that these liberal idiots up in Fort Collins and Loveland could set really stringent controls for the oil and gas industry, which could drive out a lot of business for the state that brings in a lot of revenue for the state, and there's a lot of people that are employed by the oil and gas industry here in Colorado.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, because I know there's a lot of. I mean, that's been a big industry now. That's how I ended up in Oklahoma in a lot of ways when they first started doing the oil shale thing in Grand Junction.
Right.
Back in 1980, the first time around when they
Right.
first started, and one of the young people came in, and my aunt had passed away. My dad came down here and bought some property,
Right.
just in case, just because it was a good cheap price, and he had the money and he bought it from
Right.
one of my cousins. So he said, "No, I'm never going to move there." And then somebody came in and I said, "Well, do you think you'll ever build down there?" And he says, "Nah." He said, "Well, if somebody comes in and offers me, I don't know, $45,000 for this house," which was paid for, by the way. He says,
Right.
"Yeah, I'll take it." About 2 weeks later, somebody came in and offered him $45,000 for the house.
Wow. Amazing.
And they only paid lock, stock, and barrel finished and done. They bought it for $9,000 back in 70, I think 70, and
Right.
paid $2,000 to have the inside completely finished on it. and customized for them, then turned around and sold it for $45,000 10 years later, you know. So, and came down here and had a house built, and then my second marriage failed, and I ended up here and met Judy, and well, I'd known her since I was 6, so and that's been coming up on 38 years. Her and I've been married, so.
Hey, I just want to say hi to Exploration Obsession. Welcome to the show. He says hello. He's our first chat in the chat room, which is cool.
Yeah.
And another really bad bill that Tom Sullivan and a lot of Democrats signed on to was the National Popular Vote, which would do away with the Electoral College here in Colorado.
Oh, yeah. Is that even legal?
Well,
I mean, doesn't it? Because the Electoral College is set. I mean, the only thing they control when it comes to the Electoral College is how they send their representatives, the electorates.
right.
And because we do not, well, you know it, and I assume our audience who will watch us probably later know
Right.
that we don't vote for the president and vice president. We vote for the electorate that will go cast a vote on,
That's right.
what is that, December 28th or something like that?
Something like that.
Usually, something like that. And they go cast a vote representative to what their state voted.
Right.
And the only thing that I know that they can control is who gets the electoral votes, okay? Whoever wins the popular vote in that state, they either split it. In some states, they split it.
Yeah.
In some states, it's winner take all. But as far as the rest of it goes, that's controlled under the Constitution and the federal Constitution, and they cannot supersede the federal Constitution, as far as I know.
What
I
they
mean, that's
did
what
is
caused
they
the Civil
entered
War.
into a compact with several other states, stating that whoever gets the most votes, all of their votes will count for that person.
Well, good for them. We do the same thing with Texas, and more or less. That's why we're part of the same voting block. And we don't do that, but generally we all vote very similar to each other, and so we have our elections on the same day. We have these super blocks of election, with Texas, Arkansas, Kansas, Missouri,
Right.
And I think we're going to drop Kansas because they're too liberal. But no,
Yeah,
they can enter an agreement. They can do what they want with their electorates,
Right.
but they still have to send electorates to, and they can say, all right, this is how we're going to do it, whoever wins it. But I guarantee you, personally, I think Denver needs to be their own city-state, and they need to build a wall around it and send Denver off on their own little, along with Greeley.
Well, they need to put Boulder in there too.
Yeah, Boulder, Greeley, and Denver, they can just make that whole area there. And then the United States could actually afford, if we got rid of those three places and made them an independent country,
Right.
we could probably afford to move the rest of you good people into a very nice housing and pay for a brand new house for you and still save money if we moved you out of the Denver, the Denver,
Boulder.
what is it, DCNA, the Denver Communist Nation of America.
There you go.
Yeah. Oh, that's another silly thing.
Yeah.
Do these representatives not know how to read the Constitution? Is that their problem?
They really don't care. They hate the Constitution because it impedes what they want to do. They want to turn this nation into a socialist or a communist nation. It's all about power. And it's not
Yeah,
really
yeah,
about serving their constituents. It's all about consolidating their power base and holding on
right.
to it as long as they can. They want to
Yeah,
be like what Venezuela did. You know, they voted in the socialists, and guess what they got? They got a totalitarian government that doesn't allow uh, opposition parties. They have no freedom of
yeah.
speech. They took away everybody's guns, and and this is the thing that kind of gets me with the Australians about gun control. And it's like, if you look at what happened in Germany when the Nazis took over, they took away everybody's guns.
Yeah.
And
Well,
especially if
the
they
good,
started with the people that they didn't like and made them defenseless, and then it was too late. They had no way of fighting back against the government.
right. Well, the good thing about Australia is they just elected a new, what we call a conservative government. And the other thing is I have noticed there are a lot of shootings going on in Australia for for a country that has no guns. They're doing an awful lot of shooting. So
Yeah,
yeah, it's amazing that their gun control laws apparently aren't working like they're supposed to.
yeah.
Yes, there are a lot of guns still in Australia, but they have to, they're registered. They belong to a gun club. There's all sorts of ridiculousness that they've got to go through. Because obviously I know,
And they're
I
using
know
those
quite a few
guns to shoot
Australians.
down our drones.
Yes, exactly. That's what I'm saying. They're using those. Well, and then that one guy from Australia goes to New Zealand and shoots up that mosque. Now, here's my question. Did he get the gun in New Zealand, who has stricter gun laws, or did
Yeah,
he take it with him on the plane? How did that happen?
yeah.
It doesn't make sense to me that how that happened. But they've got a very it's called the party. Now, this is what's always is weird to me, but the party that was voted in were the Liberals, okay? And the Prime Minister's got the support of the Liberal Party, which
Right.
it means liberty. It means less
Yes.
less government and stuff. Whereas the Labor was the ones who lost,
Right.
which is good too, because then uh,
Good.
it's one of those. I don't know if you noticed, but I am trying to look at the camera instead of over here where you're at. I'm trying to look at you, but I'm seeing, this is, and I may end up having to swap my monitors around. I don't know,
Right.
so that you're more centered on the camera, or I may remount my camera. I don't know. It's something I've been noticing I have a bad habit of, and
Right.
of not looking at my camera. So, but anyways, yeah, Australia's got that problem, but they've had a relatively conservative, but the guy that they just got rid of was very. He was a little left of center. Actually, he was pretty.
Right.
He was what we call a rhino. Okay,
Right.
They call him a lino, liberal in name only.
Yeah. And you know what? Mexico has pretty stringent gun laws, and the drug gangs, they're the ones with all the weapons.
Yeah, I remember. I used to go. Pardon me. I used to go down to Mexico all the time, and they had a socialist government, and still do for the most part.
Yeah.
I remember 76. I was down there, 77, and they had an election going on, it was the strangest thing I ever had. They had all these posters for the opposition up on the walls, and then they had troops and troop carriers and tanks driving up and down the streets during the election. You know, if that isn't a scary sight, you know, that's, you know, these people don't understand what they're asking for with Venezuela, Cuba, any of those socialist governments, because I guarantee you the first thing you're going to do is get rid of everybody in office that's there, because, all right, they brought it in, but hey, they wanted the revolution. They don't, if they're going to turn on their own country, they're not going to trust them to keep them in power. So that's what they're going to do. They'll get rid of anybody that oppose, you know, and because these people suddenly wake up and think, oh my God, what do we do? And that's what happened to, that's why they're all come to our country. That's what's happened down in Venezuela. Yes. That's why the Dems are wanting open borders, you know, get more people in to vote for them.
Well,
you know?
It's not only for voting; it also changes the census too, because they add to the population, and that changes the congressional district boundaries, and it helps them to gerrymander the districts in a way where they could hold on to their power.
Right. And that's what the current people, current residents, the legal residents in the United States seem to have missed, especially this young generation. Is how, I mean, this system has been put in place over the last 50 years, and now they're starting to come to fruition. And to be honest, Donald Trump was a fluke. That was just a pure luck of the draw that we got somebody like him to step up and say, I've had enough, you know? And that's probably the only thing that saved us, because had Hillary got in, this nation would have been lost. It would have been game over.
I think that's part of the reason why the Democrats are all so up in arms about Donald Trump, why they've gone off the rails on their hatred of Donald Trump. And it's not just the Democrats, there are some Republicans that hate him too. I think it's because he upsets the apple cart, and he said what he was going to do. He was going to drain the swamp, and a lot of the people that had been entrenched in government for many, many decades, they're worried that they're going to lose their livelihood if he finds out what the dirt is on them, and he could have them either thrown out of office or thrown in jail.
That's it. I mean, and these Republicans that are anti-Trumpers, that's because they're socialists too. This is like something out of who is the guy that writes those government espionage type books? My mind just went blank.
Tom Clancy? No.
Tom Clancy. Yeah, this crap's like right out of a Tom Clancy movie. I mean, this has been going on for decades. I mean, for since the 50s. You can say what you want about the anti-communist senator McCarthy. You know, you can say what you want about McCarthy, but he understood. His methods may have been bad, and that's what hurt him. But he understood, and he understood what Hollywood was about. He understood the communist and how they worked. I mean, and if you go back and watch some of that, and then you go look at today's stuff, he had it, man. He had it in a nutshell.
Yep.
You know,
he was right on the mark.
Yeah, and I hate to sound like somebody that would support that kind of, you know, because McCarthyism was not a great thing, but I mean, this is, you know, that's why Ronald Reagan became a Republican, because he saw the way it was with the Democrats. That's why his first wife divorced him because she
was a hardcore
she
Democrat.
leaned. Yeah, she was, and she was a social. People don't understand labor, which is the unions, and which is they're the unions here. They're called labor in other places, but
Right.
these are offshoots of Marxism, you know,
Yep, that's
and
right.
they started back in
The late
Europe
1800s.
and England in the 1850s, you know, and then it came here, and yeah,
Mm-hmm.
man, people just need to understand, and that's why they're not teaching history the way they should in schools too,
Right.
because it goes against the entrenched education of the socialist agenda.
Right. Uh,
Okay,
and
your
also, you
turn.
got to remember back in the 60s, Lyndon Johnson had super majorities in both the Senate and in the House. And that's why, the welfare state got established, the war on poverty,
Exactly.
which
Yeah.
we've got more people in lower income than we did back then. It didn't work.
Well, yeah, it did work. It worked for what they wanted, and that
Yeah,
was to enslave
that's
more
correct.
people and to have more people dependent on the government, which gives them a larger power base. You know,
That's right.
that's what that was about.
Mhm.
Which, well, I got stuff going off everywhere. Anyways, that's what that was all about. Was the socialist movement, and it was to increase the power base, and those people, yeah, it worked. Not the way they advertised it, and to be honest with you, back when they started that, the idea was enslavement. I mean, we're talking.
Right.
This was the old South, where pre-civil rights era is before. It's before the Democrats became part of Black Lives Matter. They were part of well, a good portion of the Democrats from the
Right.
South belonged to the KKK. Now those same Democratic, now the same Democratic Party that coming from the same part of the country belongs to Black Lives Matter. Go
Yep.
figure.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
It's people do not know the history of these
Yeah.
groups.
Well, several years
And
ago, for I think for Christmas or my birthday, they gave me a history book on the presidents. And one of the nice things about this book, it showed you the makeup of the House and Senate during the times of those presidents. And if you go back to Roosevelt during World War II, he had super majorities in both houses.
yes,
And then again, after Kennedy was assassinated, I think because a lot of people felt bad, because it was more of a sympathy thing, because Kennedy was assassinated. Well,
right.
the Democrats must be right, and look at Lyndon Johnson, the great anti-communist. Hey, let's get more troops into Vietnam,
Yeah, yeah.
and that was their way of pumping more money into government and expanding government in a venture that we shouldn't have been spending a whole lot of time in. What we should have done is we should just gave the South Vietnamese the means of conducting their own war, and give them some advice and give them some material, but also
Well,
go up to.
when we first,
We should have bombed that dam up by Hanoi, that would have ended the war right away. We
Yeah,
didn't do
yeah,
it.
yeah,
That
yeah.
was one of the
Yeah, there was a
uh,
lot we didn't. It's because it was it was a war that, well,
the politicians fought the war instead of the
yeah, the
generals.
politicians fought it, but they didn't want there to be a win. They didn't want their. They wanted to show, how bad our military was. They wanted to. It in what it did was it gave.
Motion detected at your front door.
That's my housekeeper just leaving. It gave the colleges. It gave the politicians the authorities that they needed to implement their socialist programs.
Right.
The colleges felt, emboldened by. I mean, I could go on a conspiracy theory thing
Right.
here, and I'm not going to, but
Yeah.
I just feel like that war would have, Kennedy just barely won, okay? This is the thing. He just barely won, and now that they've gone back and they've done a recount, and looked at it, basically Richard Nixon just stepped back and says, I'm not going to call for a recount because I don't want to divide the country.
Right.
And so then Kennedy was assassinated. Well, that gave, like you said, the sympathy vote for the Democrats. Oh God, let's we're doing good. Johnson's doing good, and there were a lot of Southern Democrats because you got to remember we had two types of protests going on. We had the very liberal colleges coming out of Berkeley, the hippie movement out of Haight-Ashbury.
Yeah.
We had all of that, which was the anti-war people, which I believe was probably fueled by the Democrats. Even though it was against a Democratic president, nobody liked Johnson in his party or anywhere else. I mean, he and the rest of the Democrats did not want. That was one side: the anti-war, the hippie movement, the socialist groups, the communist, all of that. Then you had the racial tensions, which again I still think was fueled by operatives of the Democrats, and to divide this nation and to eventually, bring about the kind of social change that was
Right.
what the socialists wanted in the Democratic Party, because they knew they couldn't get it in the Republicans. But over the years, they've slowly managed to slide their people in,
Right.
and we've got those kind of Republicans that are now anti-Trumps.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, that's my conspiracy theory.
Well, and I got into politics about 10 years ago. And what I've learned over the years, I've really got to be, right down in there, in the know what's going on and understanding how things work. Where you got one faction that wants, they're more like libertarians. They want, they want their way. They don't want any, moderate Republicans, and they want everybody to be like them. And I'm sorry, but if you do that, then you're not going to be in the majority. And the name of the game is to have majorities so you get control the committee assignments and get your agenda through. And that's the thing. And I know there are people like, Mitt Romney and Susan Collins up in Maine who are very liberal. But you know what? If we don't have them on our side, then we can't control the agenda either in Washington, D.C. or in each state. And that's how the game is played. It's all about who controls, uh, you know, the committee assignments, and then that's
The
how you
committees,
could
yeah.
affect uh, your agenda through your party. So, and when people get all
Right.
upset because their congressman voted for the omnibus bill because it's spending money, the way I look
Right.
at it is, okay, what do you want? Do you want zero spending? Do you want no growth? Because the growth of spending is always going to grow. It's how you can control that growth. And when I hear people say, well, the Republicans are no different than Democrats, I go, that's just ludicrous because what do you want? Do you want the Democrats in power? They'll spend it at a breakneck speed where the Republicans will try to constrain that growth of spending. And we need to get more
Yeah.
of our guys in so that we could
We
control that growth of spending. Otherwise, the Democrats get in, they'll just turn on the printing press and just start printing out dollars like there's no tomorrow, and then we'll end up like the Weimar Republic or Zimbabwe, where our money is worthless.
Yeah. Well, and here's, yeah. We have a two. I apologize, man. I was up late watching tornado warnings last night, so I'm a little, and I woke up early to do some stuff, and
Right.
but anyways, we've got a two-party system,
Yeah.
okay, which is not good. But here's what people don't understand about the parliamentary type systems. What you do is you pick a party, okay? There can be 16 parties, okay, but one has to have a majority control the government.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, Steve Carpenter.
Oh, great. Steve is
Oh,
in.
grandson's birthday party. He's just in for a minute. Well, hello, Steve. I just saw you pop in there. I'm glad you.
Yeah,
But
welcome, Steve.
we've got a two-party system,
That's right.
and but over there, what they do is they form a government. Okay, in other
Yeah,
words,
they
they get
form
together
coalitions. And whichever
coalitions.
party
Yeah, it's a
has,
coalition government.
yeah. And that's
We
how
have
they.
sort of the same system.
Yeah,
That's
ours
why
is
we
the same,
have
except
the
we
Mitt
do it in
Romneys.
reverse, where we
Yeah,
have
but we
different
have the Mitt
coalitions within
Romneys.
the parties.
Yeah, within the parties, exactly. Yeah.
Hmm.
And is it the best system? No.
No.
But, here's what most people forget is we're not a democracy,
That's right.
never have been. We are a republic, and people need to look up what a republic is and how it runs.
Right.
We are a representative government, but we are not a democracy. And so... But we do have to get some people that understand. We need to, we're going to have, the government is going to have to spend money. There's no doubt about that. You just
Right.
can't get away with it. But there are some things that the government shouldn't be involved in. And we need to step away. That needs to be, some of the social programs need to be taken over by community organizations,
Right.
Fundraisers. I mean, look what we do for our own community and the drone community.
Yeah.
If we need something for somebody, we either donate it or we have a fundraiser for them, a GoFundMe account, or something like that. That's how we do it. We don't contact our congressman and say, hey,
We want
so-and-so
our piece of
needs,
the pie.
or we don't contact our government and say, we want you to pass a bill and have the president sign it so that we can have spending on, so everybody in the drone community gets a new drone this week.
Right.
No, that's not how it works. We put these fundraisers up. We're allowed to pick and choose what we want to belong to. We have
Right.
ways of doing that. That's how the community works. And guess what? Our community's worldwide. So we have worldwide donations coming in.
Right. And also, what has happened over the many decades is now we've got
Did you read what
bureaucracies.
Steve just wrote? Yeah, can't wait for
Yeah,
Gitmo to
I
start
I
filming.
agree with that, Steve.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Well, what I was trying to say is now the legislature has abrogated its responsibility to all these alphabet agencies. They're the ones that are directing policy and laws in our country. So if we could do away with a
Oh
lot of
yeah,
these departments that we have and get it back
oh
down
yeah.
to the states, I think we would be much better off. I think the money would be well spent rather than just foolishly thrown about on programs that don't work or programs
Well,
that are on top of programs that do the same thing. And we need to
here's
start
something.
streamlining things. You
Right.
know, like
Here's something to do with Oklahoma. There, in relation to that. Okay, Oklahoma, we have a balanced budget law. You know, we have a
yeah,
balanced
yeah,
budget
same here in
amendment.
Colorado.
Okay, and the thing is uh, when the government cuts back on money that they're sending to the states, we have to make the cut somewhere.
Right,
And here's the funniest thing. You know, we had education cuts. Okay,
right,
you know the who got hurt in that was the average everyday working teacher. Okay, not
right.
the administrators, not the district administrators or the state administrators and all of this, the teachers. Now mind you, the state superintendent called for all the teachers to walk out, and to what purpose did that serve?
Right.
Absolutely nothing.
Hmm.
They got nothing out of it. You know, they said, okay, we're going to use the cigarette money or the casino money, which they promised us that money would go for education. Never
Yeah,
happened. It got spent on something else
yep.
because at the time all that was brought in, it was under Democratic controlled.
Legislature, yeah.
Finally, get a big
Same
bang for
here
a
in
buck and have to
Colorado.
keep it. Yeah, but what the difference is in spite of all that, you know, the governor we had at the time, she lost, and
Right.
she was a Republican, but she was
She
a
was moderate.
little closer. Yeah, she was a little, you know, she was a rhino. Okay, she was
Yeah,
a little left of center, or slightly
right.
closer to the center than she was to the right. The guy that won is a conservative, and he is doing what he said he would do.
Good.
We now have constitutional carry. Our budget's still working. Our economy's good. It comes down to the fact the reason we were all hurting because of the economy. Who created that? 8 years of the Democrats,
Right.
8 years of Obama created. You know, the regulations in the. I mean, we're a state that lives in the lives on fuel. You know, we're part of the fuel and gas industry. You know, or the oil and gas industry,
Right.
and we got once we got out somebody that was hurting that and started helping us again, our economy's booming. You know, yeah, we have some bad spots here in Oklahoma, and right now we're really being screwed because of the water. But that's not
Yeah.
that's certainly not anybody's political policies.
Right.
And we've already got. I mean, the governor. When we had the flood of '86, we had a Democrat for governor. We never saw the governor here in Muskogee, and we had bad flooding here.
Wow.
They hit Tulsa with the big voting blocks. The governor was here just down the road from my house
Yeah.
just the other day, right out there where I
Oh.
did that filming. You know, and you know, we've had hello Chris Hope, and
Oh, great.
he's in. Balanced budget,
Welcome,
what the hell
Chris.
is that? California just approved medical benefits for all illegals, aliens here. Yeah, that
Yeah.
won't happen in Oklahoma. And We have a conservative Republican that is running things, and he's running it on I mean, our state is really, even in spite of the floods right now, which are, that's, no offense, but that's God's doing.
Right.
Cross myself. I hope he doesn't strike me with lightning, but it is what it is. Maybe it'll thin out some of the. God, I hate to put it this way, thin out the dead weight.
Yeah. And on another topic is, as you know, Alabama has passed some of the strictest abortion laws, making it pretty much illegal to have an abortion there. So what is our Secretary of State here in Colorado does? She says, we are boycotting Alabama. And it's not just, and it's all these liberal states that are saying, well, we're not going to do business with Alabama. And then you got these knuckleheads in Hollywood, they're boycotting Alabama and Georgia because it's like, well, hey, go, if you want to have your abortion, go somewhere else. Or, hey, here's an idea. Why don't you put the kid up for adoption? Hey, there are probably parents out there that would love to have a child to raise to become an upstanding citizen.
Yeah,
so that's
exactly.
my
there's so many
my
parents
beef
that
about
can't
that.
have children, and they could put them up for adoption. It's it's just that. And you know something? I'm sure that Alabama really is not worried about having a bunch of pot smoking knotheads coming from Colorado down there anyways. No offense to my friends and family that still live in Colorado, but you guys are a bunch of wackadoos up there.
Yeah.
It is not the Colorado I grew up in.
Yeah.
I guarantee.
Well,
I mean, Denver was always bad, but not this bad. It's gotten. I remember Grand Junction wanted to. They wanted to leave. They wanted it to be an east and west Colorado.
Right.
I think I honestly think it still should be.
Right.
Because, but I've got friends that live in Grand Junction, and oh my God, the liberals over there are just about as bad.
Yeah.
I mean, you call it petty, but there was a street. Everybody has that street that you cruised on as a high schooler.
Right.
Y'all got in, especially those of us who were old enough to do it. Back in the days when you went cruising, right? Well, North Avenue was our street. That was all of us grew up. We all cruised from. It was a loop. You just went from one end of North Avenue, went up. There was a turnaround there. You went back down. Went to White Castle, grabbed some hamburgers or.
Fries.
I forgot what that hamburger. Snow cap, I think is what it's called.
Yeah.
They had the great. You get five little hamburgers for $1.25, and
Right.
we'd go down there and get them. Stop off at the liquor store halfway and pick up some beer because it was legal to drink.
Yeah,
at
that's
18.
right. It
And
was
then we'd start back
18
up and
was
stop
legal
over in the.
age.
Yeah. And stop, and we'd all party at one of the shopping center parking lots, and then we'd quit, and somebody would drive us, or if we hadn't been drinking, we'd drive up. And I'm not going to say that some of us didn't drive while we're drinking, but it was a different time. Okay.
Right.
So, anyways, the college there, which is
Mesa.
University of Colorado Mesa,
Yeah.
they decided they wanted to have that street renamed College Boulevard, and they started throwing a bunch of money at the city. Okay, well, needless to say, it didn't pass. It didn't happen. They gave the money to the city, but they did not change it to College Boulevard because. First off, there's still so many businesses that would have to change all of their business licenses and everything
Right.
to reflect, 2225 College Boulevard instead of North Avenue, So that's part of it. And then the rest of us it was for sentimental reasons. And I had people emailing me, and I talked to my people next door, or my son's mother-in-law that lives next door,
Right.
and her family was from Grand Junction. Her daughter-in-law or her sister-in-law or somebody lived there,
Right.
and so they were going around. It was going around the country. People were just phoning in their support, emailing their support, sending money to help these guys raise money to make posters and protest against it. And by God, we beat the college. God,
Right.
we beat those liberals. It ticked them off, but man, it was a worldwide operation, I tell
Oh,
you.
that's wonderful.
That's
Well-
what we have to do to beat these liberal colleges at their games.
Right.
And
now they're a university. It's Mesa State University. And
yes, Mesa State University. Yeah.
Same with my alma mater, Metropolitan State College of Denver. Now it's Metropolitan
Okay.
University of Denver.
All right, Steve, you have a good one, and I know
Thanks for
you have a
stopping
good,
by,
safe
Steve.
Memorial Day tomorrow. And thanks for stopping in. He had a birthday party. His grandson's birthday, I think.
Happy
he's going
birthday.
to. Yeah, and he said G. Newsom overturned the public's vote on the death penalty 3 weeks ago after they voted it back in 2014. And yeah, like Chris says, it's time to get a new governor. I said it in my, that going to this, what he said about the death penalty.
Right.
I said it in my vlog here. That idiot that he couldn't get a date. The girls were turning him down, so he went to the Mall of America, grabbed a 5-year-old, and threw him off 3 stories.
Uh-huh. Well, now he'll have dates in jail.
Oh yeah. Well, personally, I think somebody like that, a 5-year-old, because he couldn't get a date. That shows you the kind of men we are. These feminazis and stuff are growing now.
That's right.
He couldn't. Hey, try taking on a guy your own size. Don't pick on a 5-year-old. Come after me. I carry. I'll fix you in a heartbeat. You won't have to worry about a date.
Yeah.
2, somebody like that. I have the perfect. We need to bring back public execution so these young people understand what in God's name they're going to go through. And 2, I think a long pointed stake. Have him stripped naked, set on top of the stake, and tie 2 heavy rocks
we
to
got
his
that
feet.
idea. Lloyd. Yeah. we'll
I'm a
call you
proponent of
Vlad the Impaler's biggest supporter.
I had somebody like that that tries to kill a 5-year-old. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Or
Well,
some child molester that molests a 5-year-old or a kid like that. Absolutely.
Yep.
Yep. I am a proponent of cruel and unusual punishment to people like that. Just me. Yeah. You knew you were going to get stuff like that when you invited me to be your co-host, right?
Well, I mean, the death penalty here in Colorado is pretty much gone now that the Democrats control everything. Our previous governor, Hickenlooper, put a stay on that kid, Nathan Dunlap, and I lived less than a half a mile from the Chuck E. Cheese where he used to work, and came in and executed those people in the back of the store. It just infuriates me that
maybe the things I suggested might be to the extreme, but I do believe that because our youth has become so desensitized to real death,
right,
and I honestly think that sometimes we do need to bring back public executions. I don't want to see one. I've seen people die, but a lot of these people haven't, you know, that they have.
But in video games, where those people could jump back up and they're alive, and they think that's how life is,
Huh? Hi. Are you okay? Okay. Hey, Art, I need to help Judy for just a minute, and I'll be right back so you can have control of your show again.
Okay. Well, we've done an hour, so I think this would be a good time to shut her down.
Okay,
And
okay.
thank you
All right,
again for
excellent.
coming along. And you have a great holiday weekend. And thank you very much for your service, by the way.
Well, thank you for your support, and thanks for having me. I appreciate it. And everybody out there that gets to watch this and replay, you have a good day, and have a good Memorial Day weekend, Art, okay?
All right, we'll do. All right. And everybody
All right.
else out there, have a wonderful Memorial Day weekend. And think of all those people who have given up their lives to preserve our freedoms here in this country. So, see you next week and enjoy yourself. God bless you. Goodbye.